I would like to thank Chris also for allowing me to assume his identity. A man in review. A man is lying in a bath reading a magazine. The bath is steaming hot. He has been reading the same article for half an hour about a 15-year-old multimillionaire who patented a new kind of thermally efficient glass. The man's bored, flips to the art section. His fingertips are damp. The gray edges of the magazine begin to darken. He finds the film reviews, looks at the first one. The name of the film is at the top of the page. It is his own name. The man hoots at the coincidence, shifts position. Water sloshes. The reviewer writes that the film thematically is about how childhood can really screw with your head. The man reads on. The reviewer writes that the film ostensibly concerns a man and a woman and their life together. The man reads his wife's name. He sits up in the bath. He does not hoot. He reads more. The man recognizes events from his own life in the plot summary. The reviewer interprets these events as he describes them. The time that the man fell off the monkey bars as a boy and broke his coccyx was, writes the reviewer, an event that shaped his combative nature and was also the origin of his victim complex. The man balks. Water sloshes. Victim complex. He remembers the event like it was yesterday, trying to do two at a time like Danny Schwartz, the crowded playground turning against him. The reviewer is completely off beam. That event was the first time that the man found out exactly how many assholes that can fit in a playground. It was a good lesson, one that he looks back upon as a personal triumph. The man snorts, reads on. Apparently his past is shown in flashbacks of muted reds and greens. The film begins with the man at the age he is now. Who's playing him? The man gasps. He is not that fat. He is not as fat as James Gandolfini, the actor who plays Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. Nor is bald. Nor is commanding. Or is he? He is not entirely unhappy or happy with the choice of James Gandolfini, who is playing his wife. The man laughs aloud. Demi Moore. His wife is no Demi Moore. Kathy Bates maybe, but no Demi Moore. After he stopped laughing, the man realizes why he is not entirely happy with the choice of James Gandolfini. More often than not, James Gandolfini plays bad guys, violent men. It is negative casting. However, the choice of Demi Moore to play his wife suggests sympathetic casting, that the film is weighted against him. The film of his life is weighted against him. The man becomes angry, angrier than any character ever played by James Gandolfini. Who wrote the screenplay? He scans the review. There is no mention of the screenwriter's name. Dirty coward, says the man softly. Son of a motherfucking bitch, dirty coward. His own film weighted against him. That's not right. Those fucks. His left foot is now out of the water and planted against the white tile that surrounds the faucets. He returns to the plot summary. The reviewer writes that the flashbacks have been carefully chosen to delineate a path of behavior leading from childhood right up into the man's infidelity at the outset of the movie. The man puts his hand to his forehead. Son of a bitch! The man has always been faithful to his wife, although of late he has been having a crisis of faith. This is slanderous or libelous. He's not sure which. But when he's through with the screenwriter, so help him God, the man is not religious. He returns to the review. The infidelity is conducted with a co-worker, Jane. The man thinks. He does not work with anyone called Jane. Although someone new is starting in payroll next week, a woman. And a doozy, according to Jimbo. Sweat rolls in lines down the man's brow, around his face. Jane is played by an actor that he has not heard of. A doozy, Jimbo said. The reviewer is commending the brave choice by the director to include all 10 minutes of the graphic sex scene between the man and Jane that takes place in the stationery cupboard over the photocopy machine. The man's face reddens. There are rumors that James Gandolfini and the actress playing Jane are having a relationship in real life. The reviewer is graphic about the graphic sex. The man begins to get an erection. In the film, as James Gandolfini playing the man orgasms, he slams his hand down on the print button, causing the machine to shoot out numerous copies showing the squashed tits of the actress playing Jane. Her squashed tits heavily against the copying plate. The man is now fully erect. These are the exact details of a fantasy that he has held all his life. He has never told anyone about this fantasy, not even his wife. She would laugh at him behind his back, pick up the phone to Mary and Elizabeth immediately after he left for work. The reviewer commends the unknown actress for her courage to be demeaned in this way. Demeaned, the man mutters. Demeaned! Where is his wife? He remembers that she is at her mother's across town. Her mother is an ornery old sow who watches only reality TV. The man is convinced that there won't be any reviews of his film available for his wife to read there. He relaxes, but his erection is long gone. The water has become tepid. He skillfully turns off the hot tap with his toes and reflects on the indefatigable virility up to at least 5 years ago. Of late, his virility is nowhere to be found. Hot water courses up the bath. He turns off the hot tap. He turns off the hot tap. It is not enough. It is never enough. But there is always more to add. His toes have always been very flexible. He has always done many things with his toes, picked up falling pencils, remote controls, cutlery, etc. The detail about his toe pride is in the movie. The reviewer is commending the details that pepper the 123-minute film. They make the man human, he writes. The man snorts, but he is pleased to see no mention of his fluctuating virility in the review. 123 minutes, that's not enough time in which to cover my life, he thinks. The man considers some of the major events in his life. Some of those would take an entire movie in themselves to fully consider. In his opinion, high school. In those days, he had erections that lasted longer than this entire movie. Or what about his wedding? You can't show the audience everything in muted greens and red flashback and expect them to get the whole picture. Like his wife crying at his wedding. Why that was. The audience won't get it. How emotions run high. How women sometimes dissolve into a mess. James Gandolfini squeezed into a monkey suit, his neck an angry red from the chafing collar, with a crying woman in a wedding dress? That doesn't look good, especially in muted reds and greens. He remembers it in black and white, except for the apricot-colored napkin that he used to dry her eyes. The man is suddenly approaching outrage. With his free hand, he punches down into the bath water. Water drops speckle the columns of text. But maybe they didn't include the wedding in the final cut. He can't be sure. Wait and see. The man is always at his most reasonable in a hot bath, which is why he insists on not being disturbed. He reads the remainder of the plot summary. The final third of the movie deals with his future, his death. The man has a very strange feeling he has not felt before. It feels like a phantom hand coiling around his throat. The man sits in the bath, swallows. Wave systems rebound against the porcelain bathtub in the man's body. Droplets of steam swirl in the air. The reviewer doesn't want to add any spoilers to his review. He is considerate and doesn't reveal the ending. But it's a doozy, he writes. A real doozy. Considering the negative weighting of the film, the man feels that this suggests a bad end. That James Gandolfini gets his comeuppance for his crying wife at her wedding and the adulterous fulfillment of his longest-held sexual fantasy. The man experiences that strange feeling again, except this time it feels like the hand is holding the back of his neck, holding him in place. The man begins to cry. He has never cried like this cry. Man usually only tears up when other people are crying, at funerals, or sometimes when he is watching TV and a sad advertisement comes on. He is shamed when he tears up at these ads and always leaves the room to recover. He would usually go somewhere and call himself names, hurtful names, that he deserves for being such a pussy. He realizes that this will, of course, be in the movie. You couldn't cut something like that, something so weak, not from a film starring James Gandolfini. The man has come to the end of the review. He throws the magazine over the side and slides down into the once again tepid water. He submerges his face. His knees rise up from the water like twin monuments to a country preserved beneath floodwaters. A few sobs bubble up. The man comes up for air, wipes his face, gathers himself with several deep breaths. Film reviewers across the country know the circumstances of his death. A few hundred people, he guesses, satisfied with seeing him die in some horrible way, rich with poetic justice. Maybe he dies on the monkey bars, he thinks, swings, falls, breaks his neck this time. Everyone watching, everyone laughing, his wife laughing, his mother-in-law not even paying attention, glued to the Bachelorette. He sees the reviewers munching their popcorn, getting to the credits satisfied. The man deserved that, they'll say. James Gandolfini really understood the character, they'll say. I wonder what it must be like to inhabit such an asshole, they'll say. And they'll laugh at his sexual fantasy. Demi Moore's career will get a boost for playing such a sympathetic character as the man's long-suffering wife. She'll win an Oscar, the man is convinced. How has the movie of his life become weighted away from him? Is his wife that unhappy? Does she still love him? They haven't slept together in 5 years. Is there someone else that she truly loves, played by Antonio Banderas? Is that why she was crying at the wedding? She's a good woman, his wife, a simple soul who loves her elderly, ignorant bitch mother, and who cooks for him and cleans for him and irons his shirt without complaint. The man has to know. He has to find out if she is that unhappy. And if so, he will make it right. The man reaches over and grabs the magazine, his black arm hairs dripping water across the floor. He flips to the show times at the back of the magazine. The first showing is in 45 minutes at his local theater. He can make it. His local theater. What if people see him going into his own movie? What will they say he thinks? Where James Gandolfini's face is round, the man's face is more sculpted. The connection will not be made. He will watch the film.